February 16th. I'm going to go ahead and call the roll by making a motion on our electronic meeting. So if you will, when I call your name, say that you're present and if you agree with the meeting motion or not. So pursuant to Governor Lee's Executive Order number 71 regarding electronic meetings, I make a motion that this committee meeting agenda constitutes essential business of the Metropolitan Council and that meeting electronically is necessary to protect health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. Councilman Withers.
I'd like to second that motion.
Thank you, Vice Chair. We will begin by calling roll with that vote. Council Lady Allen. Benedict.
Aye.
Bradford. Cash.
Aye.
Evans.
Aye.
Gamble. Hager.
Aye.
Hall. Chair votes aye. O'Connell. Parker.
Aye.
Rutherford.
Aye.
Stiles. Aye. Toombs.
Aye.
Van Rees.
Aye.
Welch.
Aye.
And Vice Chair Withers.
Aye.
Thank you. I'm going to run through those other ones of Allen, Bradford, Gamble, Hall, O'Connell. Okay, if they jump on, let me know. I'm going to go through the consent agenda, and we do have a pretty large consent agenda, so I'm going to go over the numbers first. Let me know if anything changes. I know I do have one change to move something onto the consent agenda. So I'm going to go through that, and then I will make sure no one has additions or subtractions before I start reading a short novel to you all. All right, so we've got number 2, which is Resolution RS 2021-762. Item number 3, RS 2021-764. Item number 4, RS 2021-770. Item number 5, do we have Councilman Taylor? He has a lot on today. I don't think we do. Okay, Resolution 2021-771. I will carry those for him. And that also includes item number 6, RS 2021-772, RS 2021-773. Item number 8, RS 2021-774. Item number 9, RS 2021-775. Item number 11, those are all on consent to be approved. Item number 11 is BL 2021-622, which is on the consent to defer one meeting. Item 12 is BL 2021-623 on consent to be approved. Item number 13, BL 2021-624 is on consent to be approved. Item number 14 is BL 2021-625. That's on consent to be approved. Item number 15, BL 2021-626, consent to be approved. Item number 16, 2021-627 on consent to be approved. Item 17, 2021-628 is on consent to be approved. Item 18, BL 2021-629 is on consent to be approved. Taking us to item 19, BL 2021-630. It's on consent to be approved. I am listed as the sponsor, but Council Lady Porterfield will be joining me on that. Item number 20, BL 2021-631 is on consent to be approved. 21, BL 2021-632, consent to be approved. Item 22 is BL 2025-29 by Councilman Pulley that is being added to the consent agenda to defer for one meeting. So that's the addition that I was speaking about. Item 23 is BL 2021-592 is on consent to be approved along with its amendment. Item number 24 is BL 2021-601 on consent to be approved. 602 is on consent to be approved. Item 26 is 603 on consent to be approved. 27 and 604 on consent to be approved. 28, 605 is on consent to be approved. 29, 606, consent to be approved. And then our last three are on consent to be approved. That's 608, 609, and 611. Does anyone have any additions or subtractions to the consent agenda I just read? Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And you may have mentioned this just as I was joining. I have several bills where the district is 19 and it was administrative oversight on my part to get on those bills. The clerk already has me, I think, on them. They may not be documented for the purposes of this agenda, but I just wanted to make you and other committee members aware that I was aware of these bills. They are, they should all move. So I appreciate the consideration on the consent agenda. And then just so I know, did you have RS 2021-775 on consent, item 9?
Yes.
Okay, I think I'm comfortable with that here. I might have a couple questions in Public Works, but I just wanted to look at the map on that. I think I'll leave it on consent for here. Thanks.
Okay. And Council Lady Johnson did email me this afternoon to a letter for that one to be on consent. So we're happy if y'all have issues in the other committee, we're happy to for y'all to move it back here if necessary. So Councilman O'Connell, anything else? If not, please remove your hand. Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could I take items 3 and 17 off consent just to ask some questions?
Sure. Number 3 is off consent. That is that's RS 2021-764. Did you say 21?
17.
17.
It should be 2021-628.
Okay. That item number 17, BL 2021-628 by Councilman Pulley is off of consent. Thank you, Council Lady Allen. And I saw that Councilman Hall has joined us. Let's see, Council Lady Allen's joined us. Councilman Bradford, have you joined us? Okay, and Gamble. Council Lady Gamble? Okay.
Yes, present.
I'm sorry. Oh, you are. There you are. Hey. All right. We almost have a full house, just missing Councilman Bradford. All right. So having read you all the consent items, Council Lady Toombs, your hand is raised.
Thank you, Chair. Item number 3, which is 764, is going to be withdrawn.
All right. Council Lady Allen, you had bumped that from consent. I am willing to move that on to consent to withdraw. Is that okay with Council Lady Toombs and Allen?
Yes, that's fine with me.
Okay.
Fine with me as well.
All right. Anybody else want to withdraw anything before I start reading? Going once, going twice. All right. So here we go. Here's our consent agenda. RS 2021-726 by Toombs and others approves a grant application from the National Park Service African American Civil Rights History Program grant program to the Metropolitan Nashville Historic Commission to provide for the completion of a countywide historical context about the Nashville and Davidson counties' involvement in the civil rights movement. That is on consent to be approved. Item number 2 is item number 3 is RS 2021-764 by Toombs and others, approves an application for the Urban Transportation Planning Grant from the State of Tennessee Department of Transportation to the Metropolitan Government of Nashville-Davidson County. That is on consent to. Item number 4 is RS 2021-770 by Toombs and others, authorizes the Department of Water and Sewer Services to enter into a facility encroachment agreement with CSX Transportation Incorporated to abandon an existing water main and construct, use, and maintain water mains in the railroad right-of-way at 2nd Avenue North at Joe Johnson Avenue in Davidson County. That is on consent to be approved. Item number 5, RS 2021-771 by Taylor and others, authorizes Midtown Hotel Partners, LLC, to construct and install an aerial encroachment at 109 29th Avenue North. That is on consent to be approved. Item number 6, RS 2021-772 by myself and others, authorizes AI Ram 09 Incorporated to construct and install an aerial encroachment at 50 Music Square West. On consent to be approved. Is RS 2021-773 by Taylor and others, authorizes State Street Midtown LP to construct and install an aerial encroachment at 1601 Patterson Street. That's on consent to be approved, along with item number 8, RS 2021-774. Benedict and others, authorizes the Director of Public Property to exercise option agreements for the purpose of 3 flood-prone properties located on Madison Boulevard for Metro Water Services. Taking us to item number 9, RS 2021-775 by Council Lady Toombs and others, authorizes the acquisition and removal of additional 11 flood-prone properties and revisiting property acquisition costs for the previously approved 45 flood-prone properties in the 7 Mile Creek watersheds. So that is on consent to be approved. Again, if y'all have another motion on the floor, we would appreciate bringing it back to us. Taking us to bills on second reading, item number 11, BL 2021-622 by Sledge and others. This is on consent to defer 1 meeting because it's missing its Emergency Communications District report. They're meeting after us. Changes the name of Kearney Street to 4th Avenue South to Inslee Boulevard to Banaka Page Way. Item number 12, BL 2021-623 by Rutherford and others, is on consent to be approved, and it accepts a donation of real property consisting of 15.91 acres and a portion of parcel ID 18700000100 for use as a proposed school site. Thank you for that donation. Item number 13 is BL 2021-624 by Council Lady Stiles. It accepts a greenway conservation easement on certain properties located at 0 Ashford Trace, owned by Green Trails LLC. That was on consent to be approved, and takes us to item 14, BL 2021-625 by Toombs and others. It abandons a portion of alley number 2004 right-of-way and easement from Baptist World Center Drive northeastward to alley number 2003. On consent to be approved, as well as BL 2021-626 by Cash and others, abandons alley number 434, alley number 428, and alley number 628 right of way. That's on consent to be approved, along with item number 16, BL 2021-627 by O'Connell and others, abandons portions of alley number 177, 178, and 202 right of way and easement from between 4th Avenue North and 5th Avenue North. That's on consent to be approved, bringing us to item number 7, which is off of item number 17 is off of consent, but item 18, BL 2021-629, is on consent to be approved by Councilman Cash. Abandons existing sanitary sewer mains, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements, and to accept new public sanitary sewer mains, sanitary sewer manholes, and a fire hydrant assembly and easements for 11 properties located on Caldwell Avenue and Bernard Circle, known as the Belmont Caldwell Residence Hall. Item number 19 is BL 2021-630 by myself and soon to be Council Lady Porterfield. It abandons existing sanitary sewer force mains and easements, and to accept new sanitary water and sewer mains, sanitary sewer force mains, and fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and and just easements for 33 properties located at Lake of Villa Drive, also known as 2440 Murfreesboro Pike Development. Item number 20 is on consent. It is BL 2021-631 by Councilman Taylor and others. It abandons existing public fire hydrant assemblies and easements, and to accept new water main fire hydrant assemblies and easements for 4 properties located on Murphy Court and Murphy Road, also known as Park West. Item number 21 is BL 632 by myself and Council Lady Lee, whose district it's in. It accepts a new public fire hydrant assembly for properties located at 2205 Hobson Pike. That's on consent to be approved. Bringing us to bills on third reading, item number 22 is BL 2020-529 by Councilman Pulley. It changes 0.13 acres from SCR to SP zoning for properties located at 4004 Hillsborough Pike to permit animal boarding, dog kennel, and all uses permitted in SCR zoning. Again, that's on consent to be deferred one meeting. Bringing us to item 23, BL 2021-529 by Council Lady Evans. It changes a specific plan for properties located at 4124, 4140, 4144, and 4156 Central Pike at 6002 South New Hope Road, approximately 250 feet east of Tulip Grove Road, 25.93 acres to modify the permitted land uses. There's an amendment, and the amendment and the bill as amended is on our consent agenda. All right, item number 24 by Councilman Sledge. 2021-601 on consent to be approved. Changes from IWD to SP zoning for properties located at 101 Factory Street at the southeast corner of Factory Street and Geyser Street, 5.89 acres to permit 204 residential multifamily units, all of which is described herein on consent to be approved. So taking us to item number 25, BL 2021-602 by Toombs, changes RS10 to R10 zoning for properties located at 1819 River Drive, approximately 430 feet northeast of Doak Avenue, 0.39 acres, all of which is described herein. Item number 26, BL 2021-603 by Councilman Pulley is on consent to be approved. Changes the, no, this is a different one, I'm sorry. Changes from SCR to SP zoning for properties located at 3808 Cleghorn Avenue, approximately 215 feet south of Crestmore Road, 0.99 acres, to permit assisted care living and 115 multifamily units with associated amenities and leasing space, all of which is described therein. Taking us to item number 27 on consent to be approved, BL 2021-604 by Parker. Changes from IR to MUG-A-NS zoning for properties located at 900 and 914 East Trinity Lane at the southeast intersection of Ellington Parkway and East Trinity Lane, 5.88 acres, all of which is described therein. 28 is BL 2021-605 by Sledge. It changes RS5 to R6A zoning for properties located at 2201 Fox Avenue at the corner of Glen Rose Avenue and Fox Avenue, 0.25 acres, all of which is described therein. That's on consent to be approved, along with item number 29, BL 2021-606 by Council Lady Toombs. It changes from RS5 to RM20-A-NS zoning for properties located at 8 Willis Street, approximately 118 feet north of Baptist World Park Center Drive, 0.13 acres, all of which is described therein. Almost home, y'all. Item number 30, BL 2021-608 by Council Lady Allen and O'Connell. It applies a historic landmark overlay district for properties located at 209 and 211 7th Avenue North, approximately 120 feet southeast of Union Street, all of which is described therein, and that's on consent to be approved, along with BL 2021-609 by Hurt and others. It changes from RM20 to DTC zoning in the Hope Gardens DTC subdistrict for properties located at 1025 and 1029 11th Avenue North at the corner of Meharry Boulevard and 11th Avenue North, 0.42 acres, and to update associated maps within Chapter 17.37 of the zoning code to reflect the proposed DT and Hope Gardens sub-district boundaries, all of which are described within the proposal. Okay, our last one that's on consent and that is to be approved is BL 2021-611 by Council Lady Toombs, and it changes from R8 to IWD zoning for properties located at 309 Haney Avenue, approximately 195 feet east of Brick Church Pike, 0.18 acres, all of which is described therein. Councilman Withers.
Would like to move the consent agenda.
Thank you so much. That is a proper motion, and I have seconded. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I apologize for not catching this on the front end. Could I possibly remove item 12, BL 2021-623 from consent?
Item number 12, you would like to move off of consent. Item number 12 is BL 2021-623 by Rutherford and others. That is off of consent.
Thanks.
All right, Councilman Bradford, I am marking you. We do have a full house. Do you have anything other than to mark your attendance?
That was it, council member.
You're gone. All right, Councilman Taylor, what's going on? What can we help you with?
I'm here. I got here a little late. Heard you guys
All right,
were looking
great.
for me. But thanks, guys.
I have all your bills on consent, so in another vote, you're welcome to leave us again. So
Thank you.
anyone else have anything with consent on or off? Councilman Taylor, take your hand down, please. Okay, then we are going to take our roll call on consent as I read it, minus the one we've taken off there. So, Council Lady Allen.
Aye.
Benedict.
Aye.
Bradford.
Aye.
Cash.
Aye.
Evans.
Aye.
Gamble.
Aye.
Hager. Hall.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. O'Connell.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Rutherford.
Aye.
Stiles.
Aye.
Toombs.
Aye.
Van Reese.
Aye.
Welch.
Aye.
Withers.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Our consent agenda has passed. If you are not on the committee and you only had a consent agenda items, do not feel obligated to continue on with us. But you're always welcome. So that takes us to one moment to get my bearings back. That takes us to bills on second reading, I believe. Item number 10 is the first one for us to discuss. So that's BL 2020-197 by Council Lady Bircher. Is she with us today? Yes, I see her. All right. Declares a 120-day moratorium upon the issuance of building and grading permits for multifamily developments on properties within a portion of the Antioch area. I will make the motion. Councilman Withers.
Second.
Thank you. And this was disapproved at planning. Planning, do you have slides you can show us or an explanation?
Yes, Councilmember. This is Greg Claxton with the Planning Department. I've just been past presenting privileges, so give me just a moment to set up.
Okay, great. While you're setting up, Greg, Councilman Bradford, do you have a question?
I'll ask my question after we see the presentation.
Okay.
All right. Good afternoon, council members. My name is Greg Claxton with the Planning Department. I'll be presenting. These are the slides from last Thursday's Planning Commission meeting, so the item number is different. It is a request to declare a 120-day moratorium for building and grading permits within four multifamily developments on property within the Antioch Priest Lake subarea. That's the study area that we use based on the last council amendment. My understanding is that that may change going forward. In addition to the moratorium on building or grading permits, during the 120 days, the bill would also have the planning department assess infrastructure and facility capacity in light of growth trends and determine if policy and zoning changes are necessary to align entitlements with infrastructure limitations. And then if any changes are recommended, schedule any planning or rezoning processes to carry out the recommendations after the 120-day moratorium. We have not conducted a moratorium study, at least not in recent memory. So we don't have a standard template for reviewing or assessing these. Staff identified the following 4 factors for analysis based on the text of the bill, as well as our understanding of the study area. And we've compiled some data in this presentation and our staff report. However, it is not intended to be the level of depth that the study itself would get into. We were working with consulting with other departments, as well as working with data that we had at hand to try to gauge these factors in comparison with other study areas or other community planning areas in the county. As such, it's always possible there's contrary information, and we're always happy to bring additional data into our review. I also want to note that in updating community plans and small area studies, the planning department typically seeks to combine broad-based community engagement with the best information on development trends, market conditions, environmental features, and infrastructure needs as identified in coordination with other departments and community stakeholders. Singling out a particular segment of the market and identifying in advance that it should be reduced is somewhat out of step with this approach to community planning. It's also doesn't align with our best understanding of Nashvilleians' needs for future housing, whether based on affordability, life cycle, or simple preference. Because of this analysis, staff did recommend disapproval, and I'm now going to walk through these 4 factors. So to start with, the bill notes that the residents of Antioch-Priest Lake were underrepresented in the Nashville Next process, which concluded in 2015. To put that in context, I want to step back a little bit. Nashville's community planning program was established in the late 1980s. 14 sub-areas or community planning areas were established at that time. Since then, each one has been updated on multiple occasions. Most recently, all of the 14 community plans were updated jointly as part of the Nashville Next adoption in 2015, along with a light update in 2017. Prior to Nashville Next, Antioch-Priest Lake was the most recently updated community plan. It was adopted independently in October of 2012. So it was actually wrapping up as Nashville Next was getting underway in the summer of 2012. 9% of Nashville Next participants that we were able to attach to a geography were from what we called at the time the Southeast Quadrant. We divided the city up into 4 major quadrants plus the city center. At that time, that compared to 16% of Davidson County residents who lived in that same quadrant in 2010. Again, that was we were mindful of the recently adopted Antioch-Priest Lake plan when we were doing engagement for Nashville Next. And so because of our concerns about planning fatigue and because it was so recently adopted, we did not focus on getting to the full 16% participation through Nashville Next. Despite that, we did provide numerous participation opportunities in Antioch-Priest Lake, either public meetings that we held, going to community events or community association and business association groups. In our community engagement committee, which featured about 34 people, Antioch-Priest Lake had 3 representatives on that group, which was as much as any other planning area had. So overall, we find that Antioch-Priest Lake, in our estimation, was appropriately represented during Nashville Next. Next, I'm going to take a look at growth and multifamily metrics. We looked at how all of the sub-areas, all 14 sub-areas, compared with Antioch-Priest Lake. This slide, I've summarized that by highlighting the study area versus the countywide level. So to start with, looking just at the annual rate of growth from 2010 to 2017, the study area grew at about 2.1%. That was somewhat faster than the county as a whole at 1.3%. However, Antioch-Priest Lake was not the fastest growing sub-area. Downtown, Bordeaux, Whites Creek, and Green Hills Midtown all grew at the same rate or faster, and Parkwood Union Hill grew at just a little bit of a lower rate than Antioch-Priest Lake. Next, we took a look at our community character policies. These are the policies that are applied through the community plans and that the Planning Commission uses in assessing zone changes. Loosely speaking, we group these into a category of what I'm calling growth-oriented policies. These are our corridor policies, center policies, as well as neighborhood evolving. And we compared the study area with the rest of the county to see how much land within each was dedicated to these kinds of growth-oriented policies. We found that the study area had 14% of land in that category compared with the countywide average of 13%. That makes them pretty comparable. We did the same exercise for multifamily zoning. That would be actual RM zoning districts, as well as mixed-use districts and office residential districts. We found that 3.7% of the study area was supportive of multifamily compared with about 5% countywide, so a little bit lower on the zoning side of things. Next, we looked at the change in the share of multifamily of all housing units within the study area as well as the county from 2013 to 2017. And these years are generally based on when the data is available. In this case, it's Census American Community Survey data. But from 2013 to 2017, the study area's share of homes that are in multifamily compared to all housing units stayed pretty stable. It grew by 0.1%. By comparison, countywide, the multifamily share of housing units grew by 1.4 percentage points. So relatively speaking, more multifamily being added countywide than in the study area. That's not to say that multifamily wasn't being added in the study area, just that it grew at about the same rate as single family. Next, we looked at the share of multifamily units, or we looked at multifamily units permitted. And because the study area and the county as a whole are of very different sizes, we looked at a per acre basis. So from 2010 to 2020, the study area permitted 25 units per acre in multifamily units. Countywide, the number was 69 units per acre over that same time period. So we, again, based on what we've been able to pull together so far, while the study area is growing somewhat faster than the rest of the county, it doesn't seem to be driven by an excess of growth-oriented policies or multifamily zoning or multifamily development. Next, we looked at a range of infrastructure and facilities. First, we took a look at traffic to see how that has grown in the study area compared to the rest of the county. We based this on TDOT monitoring stations where they use traffic modeling to assess that for each year the average daily traffic at each one of these stations. They've been doing this for a number of years. Some of these stations go back to the 1980s. We looked at 2010 to 2018 and looked at the year-over-year rate of growth at stations within Antioch-Priest Lake compared to the rest of the county and other sub-areas, and found that traffic in the sub-area grew at a similar rate as traffic throughout the county. Second, we looked at school capacity utilization rates. This is relatively whether schools are over capacity, at capacity, or under capacity. We looked at schools within Antioch-Priest Lake and compared them to the other community planning areas. We found that the schools serving Antioch-Priest Lake have a higher capacity utilization rate than most of the rest of the county. Per MNPS guidance, we focus most on the 5-year growth trend for a variety of reasons related to this MNPS's school choice system and the availability of charters in private schools. MNPS finds that that's the most appropriate measure to use for sort of long-range looks in their capital planning process. Again, we found that schools in Antioch Priest Lake generally had a higher capacity utilization rate than most of the rest of the county. However, in reviewing schools' capital plans and projects that had actually been funded over the past 10 or 15 years, we noted that MNPS did prioritize projects serving the Antioch Priest Lake area as well. And so notably, previously funded projects include an addition to Antioch High School, a new Cane Ridge Elementary School, Eagle View Elementary School, and Smith Springs Elementary School. In addition, in the proposed capital spending plan, I believe that it includes an expansion of Cane Ridge High School as well as phase 1 of Cane Ridge Middle. And the district's capital budget requests 2 additional new schools within the clusters that serve Antioch Priest Lake. Next, we looked at parkland, particularly large regional parks. Both Nashville Next and Plan to Play identify the southeast area in general, including Antioch Priest Lake, as deficient in these large regional parks. Similar to schools, Parks has expanded parkland and community centers over the past 10 or 15 years, either renovating the Antioch Community Center or adding the Southeast Park and Community Center and the Smith Springs Community Center. They've also put $12 million in capital spending towards the first phase of Mill Ridge, which would be a new regional park in the southeast part of the county. Next, we wanted to look at flooding and stormwater concerns. This is difficult to assess systematically throughout the county, so we relied on flooding complaints as a proxy for this. This is imperfect for a variety of reasons, but it was kind of readily at hand and summarizable so that we could compare Antioch Priest Lake with the other sub areas. We did find that there are some concentrations of flooding complaints where there are repeated calls to 311 or 911 within Antioch Priest Lake. However, the greatest concentrations of flooding complaints are within the city's older urban core. The highest concentration are in what we call the South Nashville Community Planning Area. Generally, that would be the area around Browns Creek, very broadly understood. Next, we talked to Metro Water about water and sewer capacity. They noted that in the past few years, they needed to add a pumping station and some other infrastructure in the Southeast Community Planning Area that's west of Antioch Priest Lake. That was needed to keep up with demand for new water service by new development. Council, working with Metro Water, established a recovery charge for that water infrastructure to support that new development. However, Metro Water has not identified any similar water or sewer capacity issues in this study area. Last, we know that residents have long been concerned about safety and have long sought a Southeast Police Precinct. Land was purchased in 2017. And then after our staff report was published, the mayor's capital spending plan was released, which proposed construction funding for that police precinct. Last, I want to note the role of the Murfreesboro Pike and Bell Road corridor through the study area. It has been identified as a priority for transit in every recent consideration of transit going at least as far back as Nashville Next, but including InMotion, high capacity corridor studies conducted after InMotion, as well as the mayor's transportation plan, which recommended the route for Nashville's first bus rapid transit line. It also received transit signal priority installation, including some improved pedestrian infrastructure. Generally, we think the role of Murfreesboro Pike and Bell Road through the community would be ill-served by the moratorium. It is an opportunity to expand ridership and improve community services and walkability through the redevelopment of select older low-density commercial centers. In addition to our findings just presented, the staff report also noted a range of potential projects, either within Antioch Priest Lake, within the broader Southeast area, or that could serve to address some of the concerns identified by the legislation. In recent years, planning has requested funding in the CIB to expand our capacity for specialized studies such as these. The current proposed spending plan is the first to recommend funding these studies. The planning department thinks it is appropriate and useful to do further planning work in Antioch as well as throughout the rest of the county. As communities throughout the county change, where people seek homes, goods, services, and job sites changes as well. Identifying and planning for Nashvillians' needs and desires for the future is needed to ensure that the regulations in place do not become dated and more difficult to achieve the communities that Nashvillians seek. Last Thursday, Planning Commission did vote 7-0 to disapprove. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Let's see. I'm going to go to Council Lady Stiles because she has an amendment for the bill, and then we'll go to Councilman Bradford and Councilman O'Connell. So, Council Lady Stiles, do you have a motion on your amendment?
Yes, Chair. Thank you. I would like to move for approval with a brief comment.
Sure. I'll go ahead and second your motion, and it is proper motion in front of us. You have the floor for explanation.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, this amendment merely takes District 32 out of this proposed study. So I just ask that you would vote yes on my amendment. Thank you.
All right. Is there discussion on her specific amendment? I'm seeing no new hands, so I'm assuming that there is not. And so what we're going to do is roll call through on the amendment. And so that begins with Council Lady Allen.
Aye.
Benedict.
Aye.
Bradford.
Aye.
Cash.
Aye.
Evans.
Aye.
Gamble.
Aye.
Baker.
Aye.
Hall.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. O'Connell.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Rutherford.
Aye.
Stiles.
Aye.
Toombs.
Aye.
Van Rees.
Aye.
Welch.
Aye.
Withers.
Aye.
All right, thank you, Council Lady. Your amendment goes on the bill, and so next in the queue we have Councilman Bradford.
Thank you, Chair. Not so much a question. I just want to make a statement about this bill. I initially supported it because I do believe we needed some types of studies done in our communities to determine the impact of development and how we can keep up with infrastructure in schools. But I just want to go on the record and state that this bill's sponsor did not reach out to me prior to including my district into this bill. That on top of the disapproval by the Planning Commission, I am going to vote no, and I ask my colleagues to do the same.
Thank you, Councilman Bradford. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to get some clarification. And I can't remember who we've got representing us on the legal side tonight. It looks like Ms. Cooper is here. If I wanted to make a motion to disapprove or have the chair possibly consider a motion to disapprove, is a motion in this committee to disapprove proper?
John Cooper, please.
Yes, the committee could move to defer. The committee typically gets, well, under the rules, the committee gets one deferral kind of by right.
No, not to defer, to disapprove. Sorry, to disapprove.
Sorry, I didn't hear you right. To disapprove, yes, that is a proper motion.
Does that supersede the chair's motion to approve?
No, we would have to vote on that motion first.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification.
But Mr. Cooper, I can change or amend my motion. Is that correct?
Yes, you could withdraw your motion and make another one.
Okay. I will admit to the committee, I apologize. I am used to being at the Capitol where we make a motion simply to get the bill before us, and then carry on from there and make an action motion. And I frequently do not clarify where I am with that, which defaults my motion to be an approval. So again, apologize for that constant confusion. But Councilman O'Connell, do you have any other comments at this time or requests of the?
Yeah, I guess I'm looking at the capital spending plan, which is also filed in before us for consideration tonight. Yeah, I know we've got neighborhood planning and infrastructure studies in there for Southeast. I do understand the sponsor's intent here, but after hearing planning department analysis, I think most of the arguments that have been made in support of this bill have pretty effective and thorough counter arguments at this point. And given the members who have suggested that they were not consulted prior to the bill being filed, I think it's most appropriate for this committee and the body to disapprove this bill. So I would request that the chair either consider making a motion to disapprove, or if not, I will be voting to disapprove. Thank you.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and withdraw my motion for approval. I will make a motion for Councilman Withers. Do you withdraw your second of my motion to approve?
I do.
Thank you. I will make a motion to disapprove. Councilman Withers, would you like to second that, or Councilman O'Connell can?
I will second that.
Thank you. So we do have a properly motioned to disapprove before us. Council Lady Allen, your hand was up. Do you have any comments?
Just a technical question. Is there a fundamental difference between everyone voting no to approve a bill as opposed to everyone voting yes to disapprove a bill? Does that make a difference functionally?
I think it's potato, but okay. I think there is probably intent in the language. But I would defer to Mr. Cooper if there's something beyond potato to potato and expressing intent in our motions.
That's correct. For purposes of on the council floor, it would be a motion to approve, and then you would just vote against that if you were not in favor of the bill. In committee, you can do motions to disapprove. With the Planning Commission and BZA, they will do motions to disapprove if a motion to approve fails. So you're right, it's 6 of one, half dozen the other.
Okay, and let's see here. Councilor Allen, did you have another question?
No, I think I've taken my hand down. I just wanted to make sure I understood the implications. Thank you.
I wanted to make sure we wrapped that up. And if I could, Mr. Claxton, if you have before us, could you run through, you can summarize, because I think there was probably at least like 10 action items that the Planning Commission offered to do instead of this moratorium. Is it possible for you to summarize some of those?
Sure. So the first was as any planning or design work gets underway for bus rapid transit on Murfreesboro Pike, to include a corridor land use planning component to that. Second would be to build upon performance and prioritization metrics for capital planning to target investments to the areas of greatest need. Third would be to review community and countywide needs in programming the land recently purchased by Metro for the Southeast Police Precinct and the new Emergency Communication Center to see what other uses, community services could be added there. Fourth, outside the planning area a little bit, but we've proposed for a number of years a mobility study in conjunction with the Southeast Community Plan Update to identify plausible strategies to upgrade the road network from rural routes to suburban corridors, including strategies to identify an appropriate role for the private sector. We think that this is something that's needed in the Southeast area, but identifying these strategies can have a countywide benefit. Next would be a recommendation that we pulled in from the Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan, recently updated in 2020, to evaluate regulatory standards, infrastructure needs, and/or funding strategies to improve stormwater runoff and local flooding in rapidly developing and redeveloping areas. Next is pulling a recommendation we had made a few years ago through the CIB process to host community discussions about Antioch Priest Lake's infrastructure and facility needs. That is projects that have already been requested in the CIB and help engage the community around their priorities to inform both Planning Commission and council members. There is an additional study proposed in the CIB from Metro Water that's to coordinate a study of Mill Creek flooding and drainage improvements with the Army Corps of Engineers. Next would be to expand the range of quick site-specific visioning we've begun over the past year, such as a project underway at Murfreesboro, Bell, and Hamilton Church. This could be done either by the department or, as we've done in the past, through a range of partners such as the Civic Design Center or student-led projects. This is helpful for getting community members, council members, and property owners thinking a little bit differently about these areas that get studies like these. Next would be to reassess the supplemental policies based on the Rural Hill Road Detailed Neighborhood Design Plan. They have not yet generated the envisioned development pattern and could be refined to better reflect current community desires. Continue to explore potential for public-private partnership to revitalize the Global Mall and to create a comprehensive walkable neighborhood within Antioch. And then last is noting that we do have tools such as urban design overlays, contextual overlays, or our own ongoing work through plans to ensure high quality design when considering new proposals.
Thank you, Mr. Claxton. I know that was a lot, but I thought it was important for this committee, as we have a motion to disapprove, it was important for this committee to hear what other things the planning department has on tap for this area, regardless of this legislation. So Councilman Hager.
Real quick, what about the vested rights doctrine if we pass this type of bill? That was a question I had.
John Cooper.
Yes, the Vested Rights Act does apply to this bill. So anyone who has pulled a permit vests in that permit under state law, and this would have no impact on that.
Councilman Hager, any follow-up?
What if the property is already... What? One other question. What if the property is already zoned for multi-units? Can they not pull a permit? Is that what you're saying?
Under state law, you just vest in a permit that has been obtained. So the fact that you have zoning for multifamily would not trump any moratorium that was in place.
Okay.
Councilman Hager, anything else?
Not right now. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Councilman Hager. Councilman O'Connell. Councilman O'Connell, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button. I hit the hand button. I'd like to call the question, please.
All right, is there any objection to calling the question?
This is Council Member Parker. I'd like to note that the bill sponsor has their hand raised and has not been recognized.
Right, I was trying to go through members first.
This is Councilman Cash, and I have my hand up to say I'd like to hear from the sponsor.
Okay.
Likewise.
Is two objections, that's fine. So we will pull your hands down, and Council Lady Bircher, you have, so Councilman O'Connell, there was objections to calling the question, and so that's not where we are now. So there has been a request from Councilman Cash, who is next in the queue, to hear from Council Lady Bircher. Councilman Cash, did you have any other questions before that?
I just wanted to add that I share some of the concerns that have been expressed in the committee so far, but I would like to, and at the same time, understand the pressure to improve on infrastructure that's been talked about. But I before I vote on it, I really would like to hear from the sponsor.
That is appropriate. Council Lady Bircher, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you so much, committee members. I'm going to ask for your support in this. And let me start at the beginning. One, the Antioch Priest Lake area is comprised of several districts, okay? So this isn't targeting one district. This is strengthening the entire ecosystem for the entire area. We have a district in this plan where 30% of the district is at or below poverty level. And this district does not have a library, a community center, or a park. So it clearly states that how we've been planning for growth for our area is not working. That's for starters. Two, the Planning Commission report indicated that there's higher capacity utilization rate, but similar growth for the city. That doesn't add up when we've closed 2 schools for different areas that our area has similar growth than. The Cane Ridge High School is only a little over a decade I believe it's 13 years old, and it's already at capacity. This study, this legislation, colleagues, is simple. It's not an anti-apartment legislation. It's not an anti-affordable housing legislation. This is simply saying, hey, let's pause so that our planning department can give us the resources and the information so that we can plan for sustainable growth. Right now, we have runaway growth for the area. When we build schools, they're already at capacity. When we input that pumping station, it's already stressed. It's already stressed for services. And lastly, I would say this: that the study area, and I know planning had a short amount of time to pull it together, but that information is dated as conveyed by one of the planning commissioners. The study does not include the 3,300 plus units that's coming online. I'll say that again. 3,300 units that's coming online for this area. This is simply asking our planning department to plan, to forecast, to project growth. We can't keep doing this business as usual. It's not sustainable, and it's not healthy. Development costs are going to continue to rise if we keep doing business like this. Can't control construction costs. We're never going to reach the affordable housing goal that we all speak of obtaining, because we're not planning. If the pandemic and if the tornado hasn't taught this city, hasn't taught us anything, is that we need to plan. And I'll stress again, this isn't about any one particular district. This is about the quadrant as a whole. And I will say this: we're either gonna be an investment to the city, or we're going to end up being a liability to the city, because this is only going to continue to become more and more costly. And then this is my second last chair. If we're serious about equity and development in this city, this is what this legislation is. As a developer, it's not equitable that I'm a developer and I can go build in certain parts of the city, and the city pays for my infrastructure, and then I build in another part of the city and I'm required to pay for my infrastructure. What that means is that there's 2 different products. One side of the city is going to get a better project. The other side of the city is going to get a lesser project. We should be better, colleagues. We should be better. And I like the Planning Commission's recommendations, but all of those are aesthetics. Those are aesthetics. That still doesn't get us to projecting growth and its impact on our services and our schools. We've had a gazillion community conversations over the last 20 years. And I know Councilwoman Allen, she's been on council a lot longer than many of us. And I know she's heard it all the years she's been on council. Even the planning commissioner said, we've heard this before over and over and over and over again. And it shouldn't be that neighbors have to beg and borrow to be listened to. So I'm asking for your support for this, to ask our planning department to plan, to forecast, and to project growth so that we have healthy, sustainable neighborhoods out here. Thank you, Chair.
All right, Councilman Bradford.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to go back and reiterate my opposition to this bill. The sponsor talks about wanting to strengthen our Southeast quadrant, yet this bill is being done basically behind the back of the District 13 council member, myself. And so if we're wanting to try and strengthen our relationships, then we shouldn't be trying to pass legislation that includes other council members' districts without having conversations with those council members who understand the specific concerns of their districts. The people of District 13 represented me to be their council member, not Tanaka Bircher. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Bradford. Councilman Parker.
Thank you, Chair. I really appreciate the planning department's really thorough analysis about this, and I definitely hear the concerns from other Southeast council members. But as a representative of a district that has a lot of infrastructure issues related to recent development, I want to support this here in committee, and I'll be open to further consideration as this reaches the floor. So I will be voting in favor of this bill in committee.
All right, Council Lady Stiles. Council Lady Stiles.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I just can't see you, but go ahead. I can no longer hear Council Lady Stiles. Does anyone hear her? Okay. We'll give it a second to come back.
I apologize.
You are. Go ahead, Council Lady Stiles.
Is this better?
Yes. You have the floor.
Okay. Thank you. So I did mention this in our last meeting 2 weeks ago. This really just piggybacks off of what Councilmember Bradford has shared. This is about collaboration. We all have concerns in regards to growth in the Southeast. I think we've all been attempting to address it. Certainly working together, though, means that we do have to speak with one another and come up with a collaborative plan to address an issue that's affecting all of us. And that is not this particular bill. And perhaps we need to figure out what that looks like for the Southeast. The planning department has come up with several great ideas. I know that and the small study that's taking place right only because of COVID. There was to have been a larger Antioch study to have taken place in the past fall. And I know once we get out of COVID, it is going to resume. So the concerns that are being brought forth are going to be addressed. There's already a plan. Money has been set aside. And so I would like to encourage people, please, this should be disapproved. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Council Lady Stiles. Councilman Hall.
Thank you, Chair. And I would just like to say, as someone who has been pretty dogged about infrastructure from, even before being in council with previous council members from my area to the day that I hit the door, I understand, as much, if not more than most, where we are when we're talking about lack of infrastructure or continuity. In addition to, while I appreciate the great work that planning has done, quite a bit of the information that was provided was askew because it did not take certain factors into consideration. And I'm actually taken aback quite a bit by the comparisons in growth rate to other areas when I can flat out deny most of that when it comes to District 1. All that being said, there are various mechanisms that we can utilize to achieve goals. And while I understand that council districts quite often interact or intersect at different points with one another, and we have to work well with our neighbors, I just want to caution us all and think clearly that, you know, there are instances where there are always going to be things that seem as if someone is maybe overstepping, but I want us to, you know, make a concerted effort to communicate better with one another so that we can avoid those things. I mean, I can say you'll hear from me multiple times on this, which I will support this, and other things like it when we're talking about affordable housing as we move forward, because, you know, we're talking about things that impact the city as a whole proportionally or negatively impact specific districts. So I just want us to make sure we make a concerted effort to communicate better with one another. You know, sunshine law aside, there are ways for us to do that. And we need to make, especially during this virtual and COVID time period, that we are making a better effort to have these conversations with one another so that we're not misconstruing or misrepresenting anything. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Hall. You are correct. During this time, we should be having virtual meetings and, you know, talking with our fellow council members about legislation or whatever else we need to talk about. Virtually, we can do it from our house a lot quicker than when we're not under executive orders. So let's find a silver lining, and that's one of them. So we're at Councilman Hager. You have the floor.
Call the question.
All right, Councilman Hager has called the question on my motion. Are there any objections of calling the question? Hearing none, Councilman Cooper, John Cooper, do I need to take a vote on calling the question if there are no objections?
No, you can just go right into the vote.
All right, we are voting to disapprove this bill as amended. So a yes vote is for disapproval. A no vote would be for approval. Council Lady Allen.
Aye.
Council Lady Benedict.
Aye.
Bradford.
Aye.
Cash.
Aye.
Evans.
Aye.
Gamble.
Aye.
Hager.
Aye.
Hall.
No.
Chair votes aye. O'Connell.
Aye.
Parker.
No.
Rutherford.
Aye.
Stiles.
Aye.
Toombs.
No.
Van Reese.
Aye.
Welch.
No.
Aye.
Withers. That is 4 against the motion. The rest of us in favor of the motion. The bill is disapproved. Moving on to whatever else we had next that I've totally lost my place. I think that would be item number 12, BL 2021-623. Someone correct me if there was something in between there. It doesn't sound like it. So here we are, Councilman Rutherford. We are on your bill. Item number 12, BL 2021-623 by Rutherford, Toombs, and myself, accepts a donation of real property consisting of 15.91 acres, a portion of a parcel ID that I already read out and then had lots of zeros in it, for the use as a proposed school site. I will make a motion to approve this bill. Councilman Withers. Thank you. Councilman O'Connell, you had questions that bumped this, so we'll go to your questions and see if we need to hear from the sponsor, he can answer them.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I don't oppose this bill at all. Really just trying to get to some underlying questions about how we do school siting overall in Davidson County. I know we're running late So I think I'm going to hold those questions and maybe ask schools and planning to submit correspondence to us for third, since this is on second. So at this point, I'm happy to just let this go and support it.
Councilman Rutherford and Councilman O'Connell, what would be the thought of approving this on second and re-referring it to third? You'll know I don't like to make that motion typically, but since we aren't necessarily opposing the thought of a donation for our school, but we have questions, I'm happy to amend my motion to what I know you find despicable. What are the thoughts?
I don't have any issue with that.
Councilman O'Connell, would that make you feel better?
That'd be good. I think getting that discussion in committee would be helpful. I just don't want to hold us up tonight since I know we're stacked into one day.
Yes, I was going to say we are running over. So with that, I'm going to ask Councilman Withers to withdraw his second.
Withdraw.
Thank you. I'm withdrawing my motion to approve solely. So I am making a motion to approve and re-refer to planning on third. Councilman Withers for the second.
I would like to second that, please.
Thank you. We are roll calling. Councilor Allen.
Aye.
Benedict.
Aye.
Bradford.
Aye.
Cash.
Aye.
Evans.
Aye.
Gamble.
Aye.
Hager. Hall.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. O'Connell.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Rutherford.
Aye.
Stiles.
Aye.
Toombs. I think we had a child voting there. Van Rees.
Aye.
Welch.
Aye.
Withers.
Aye.
All right, so that is moved to approve and re-refer. And so that takes us to item number 17 was bumped from consent. BL 2021-628 by Councilman Pulley. It abandons White Oak Lane right away from Hillsborough Pike to White Oak Drive. I will make a motion to approve. Councilman Withers. Councilman Withers, second.
Second. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Council Lady Allen, I think you bumped this. Let's go to you first, and then we can call up friends if we need to.
That's correct. And I'm hoping that Councilmember Pulley is here just to answer my question. This is a mandatory referral, an abandonment of right-of-way between essentially Trinity Presbyterian Church and a development that runs behind it, perpendicular to 21st Avenue. And I just would be interested to know how that discussion ran, since that very large piece of property on the corner of 21st and Sharondale frequently gets looked at as other uses possibly in the future. So I just want to make sure there was some good, robust discussion before that abandonment was made. Is Mr. Pulley here?
So I'm not sure if Mr. Pulley is here because I confirmed to him that I received his letters and that he most likely was not needed. So I may have given him false security there. Let's give him a second to come on. Why don't we roll this down and see if we have anything else on the agenda. Okay, I think this is the last thing on our agenda. I have reached out to Councilman Pulley. Is there anyone from like Public Works that could maybe answer these questions before we decide to defer this?
Council Lady Murphy, this is Devin Doyle with Public Works.
Great, Devin. Could you enlighten us any?
So Council Lady Allen, I know this request started almost exactly a year ago. And it's my understanding that through the applicant who made the initial request in concert with Councilman Pulley, that there was quite a bit of community outreach. I believe the concerns were primarily from the neighborhood about someone potentially opening up this right of way and creating cut through traffic through a long, well-established neighborhood. And there were also some concerns that Public Works raised because this right of way is basically, this unbuilt right of way is basically a misaligned right of way on Hillsborough Road. In other words, it does not align with any of the existing public streets on the east side of Hillsborough Road. And as you know, we're in the process of working on a project to correct a misaligned intersection down in the Green Hills area. And so I think when the neighbors proposed this abandonment to Public Works and Planning, it was something that we had no opposition to.
Thank you, Devin. And I think Councilman Pulley was attempting to get on. Councilman Pulley, are you out there? Have you joined us?
I don't see him yet. Chair, may I ask one more question while we're waiting for Councilman?
Sure, go ahead.
So, Mr. Doyle, my understanding is that then the decision about how the right-of-way gets divided up between the two adjacent properties happens afterwards. Can you speak a little bit to how that discussion will proceed and what your expectations for that are?
It does. I think Public Works does not make that assessment. I believe that happens as it goes through the Register of Deeds office. There's another entity in Metro who actually makes that determination about where the abandoned right of way is given. In brief, it actually goes to the properties from which it originally was created, if that makes any sense.
Right.
I think you and I probably have talked about that. So that has not been officially determined to my knowledge at this point.
Okay.
And I think Councilman Pulley has arrived.
I see him.
Yes, I'm on.
Councilman Pulley, you have the floor to give us some input on how you've reached out to the community briefly as possible.
Sure. What now? Tell me what the questions are.
How did you engage the community on your right-of-way abandonment between White Oak Lane, Hillsborough Pike, and White Oak Drive?
Okay. All right. First of all, there was a property owner who had an issue with the side setback, and the right-of-way abandonment came into question. So after doing the research, it was determined that in order to get the right-of-way abandonment, we went through all these procedures, and all the property owners who, if you look at the right-of-way being abandoned, you got a number of streets, a number of residents whose yard backs up into the right-of-way area. All of those property owners were surveyed by the property owner who really originally sought to abandon this right away, and they all signed off on it. There were some, I don't know specifically how many, on the south end of White Oak Lane who signed off on it. There was engagement with the church. I didn't hold any meetings. This was all done by the property owner who inquired about the right-of-way abandonment to begin with. So that's the community engagement that was done.
Thank you, Councilman Pulley. Council Lady Allen, does that cover your concerns, or do you have more that we can discuss, or we can table the bill?
No, I think since we're short on time, I just wanted to hear that the church had been engaged because it's got the longest strip along there. So I'm
yes, they were engaged.
Thank you for indulging me and answering all my questions. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Great, thank y'all. Is there any other questions? There are hands in the queue. Are there any questions about this legislation? Joy, Larry, Berkeley, take your hands down if you don't have questions. Fabulous, thank you. With that, we're going to go to roll call to approve with Council Lady Allen.
Aye.
Benedict.
Aye.
Bradford.
Aye.
Cash.
Aye.
Evans.
Aye.
Gamble.
Aye.
Hager.
Aye.
Hall. Chair votes aye. O'Connell.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Rutherford,
Aye.
Stiles,
Aye.
Toombs,
Aye.
Van Reese,
Aye.
Van Reese, I think that was you, right?
Aye, that was me. Yep. Aye.
Aye. Withers.
Aye.
Councilman Pulley's bill moves out, and that's the conclusion of our time and planning today. Thank you all, and see you in a few.
Thank you, Madam Chair.